Yay!
Hello and welcome back, my little cryptid lovers. Today I've got quite the juicy lead on where we can find some more of those silly little creatures you and I have grown so fond of over the years. As it turns out, the Yu-Gi-Oh series has more than its fair share of mysterious beings of dubious origins that we can feast our eyes upon. So let's do just that. I'll preface this video with the fact that I'll mainly be covering up to GX in terms of cards and content in the timeline of Yu-Gi-Oh releases, since that's what I mainly care about and am familiar with enough to discuss and research. Before we start the video though, allow me to be a bit candid with you guys. An unopened mouth never gets fed, after all. I've recently lost my job, and I'm giving content creation as big of a push as I can while I burn through my savings. Scripts like these take time to research and write, and video assets need to either be created or commissioned, which takes time and money. I will continue making content like this whether I am supported or not until the very bitter end, but please find it in your heart to consider supporting me on Patreon. You can get your name in the beginning credits of every video from then on and help keep me afloat while I create content for your entertainment. I would love to be able to do this full time, and your support would quite literally mean the world to me. Thank you for your time. With that being said, these are the Yu-Gi-Oh cards that don't exist. Like with the Mario characters that don't exist video, I have created a couple of categories that we'll spelunk through as we discover all of these little goobers and what lore they hold secret from the rest of the world. These categories are never printed, shapeshifters, lawsuits, one of a kind, and officially illegal. Let's start with never printed and work our way through the list, huh? As many a Yu-Gi-Oh fan is aware, there are a plethora of different mediums in order to absorb that sweet Duel Monsters content. From the anime to the manga and then to the kaleidoscope of bizarre and boundary-breaking Yu-Gi-Oh video games. There's a little something for every type of medium enjoyer, even dating sim enthusiasts. With the release of the Early Days collection, many people were exposed to a great many Duel Monsters cards that have never seen the light of day, alongside a fair few that genuinely could not ever be printed even if they tried. Take the old school ritual monsters for example. Back when the game runners were experimenting with the special summoning mechanic of Yu-Gi-Oh, they created a bunch of monsters that, for the right cost, would allow players to summon a powerful monster without having to have board presence beforehand. The video games were a tad different though, instead considering ritual monsters to be on par with the Egyptian god cards in terms of power and prestige, granting them the divine typing, and by extension to the game's type effectiveness system. Check out my videos on Dark Duel Stories and the Sacred Cards for more details on that if you happen to be interested. The cost for this was often requiring one or more very specific ritual material monsters already on your field, alongside some other non-specific ritual material alongside them as tribute to summon the big dude, similar to how fusion summoning functions in the real-life trading card game. In order to fill out the catalog of ritual monsters to make it more accessible to deck variants, several real-life normal monsters were transformed into ritual monsters, and some of these are genuinely so funny I can't help but chuckle. Yamadron, Trihorn Dragon, Serpent Knight Dragon, Sengenjin, Cosmo Queen, Millennium Shield, Gate Guardian, and Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon are all treated as ritual monsters, and as such have been granted an appropriate ritual spell card to facilitate their ritual summon. Yamadron Ritual, Curse of the Trihorn Dragon, Revived Serpent Knight Dragon, Revival of Sengenjin, Cosmo Queen's Prayer, Curse of the Millennium Shield, Gate Guardian Ritual, and Ultimate Dragon are all cards that have never seen the light of day, and genuinely never will unless Konami decides to not only print them, but the ritual variants of all of the cards I mentioned previously. For those curious, the special materials for these rituals are as follows: Mountain Warrior plus 2 others for Yamadron, Black Dragon Jungle King plus 2 others for Trihorn Dragon, Darkfire Dragon plus 2 others for Serpent Knight Dragon, Hitatsumi Giant plus 2 others for Sengenjin, Queen of Autumn Leaves plus 2 others for Cosmo Queen, One-Eyed Shield Dragon plus 2 others for Millennium Shield, Sangha of the Thunder, Kazajin and Suijin for Gate Guardian, obviously, and 3 individual Blue Eyes White Dragons for Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, also obviously. But the ritual monsters don't stop there. They also added 2, as of this video, game exclusive ritual monsters never seen in print, those being Mask of Shine and Dark and Psycho Puppet, which require the ritual spell cards Contract of Mask and Puppet Ritual respectively. The specific materials are Mask of Darkness plus 2 others for Mask of Shine and Dark, and Mysterious Puppeteer plus 2 others for Psycho Puppet. Also, huge thank you to my pal Son Oreo for the sick Psycho Puppet thumbnail art. You rock, dude. People who've watched the deck building guide sections of my Yu-Gi-Oh game videos will know how much I value the reactive battle traps that those games have in them, like House of Adhesive Tape, Eat Gaboon, and Acid Trap Hole. Each of these cards destroys an attacking monster with an attack stat within that specific card's stat range. 500 attack for House of Adhesive Tape, 1000 attack for Eat Gaboon, and 3000 attack for Acid Trap Hole. These cards function wildly differently in the physical trading card game, as I'm sure a few of you have picked up on. But did you know we've never seen 2 of the cards that are part of this archetype in print? Both Bear Trap, who destroys 1500 attack monsters, and Invisible Wire, who destroys 2000 attack monsters, have never made their way into reality, being relegated to video games exclusively. Invisible Wire is extra bizarre in this regard because it's actually been censored for releases outside of Japan. Ironic, considering that many cards have had their original uncensored artworks ported over to America.
Boobies.
And I don't know, man. I think I'd rather be sliced into multiple pieces and instantly killed over whatever the hell is happening to this guy. Bro is going through situations day in and day out. Oh no. Do you guys remember the very first equip cards? Those really monster-type specific ones. Legendary Sword, Beast Fangs, Raised Body Heat, you know the ones. Well, there's one of those that has never been released called Winged Trumpeter, specific to Fairy-type monsters. You'd think Konami must have forgotten Fairy-type monsters with this little oversight, but it's actually quite the opposite. Released alongside every other monster-type specific equip card in Legends of Blue Eyes White Dragon was a card called Silver Bow and Arrow, which literally serves the same purpose as a Winged Trumpeter. Okay, so maybe Winged Trumpeter was replaced by Silver Bow and Arrow at some point, right? Wrong! Silver Bow and Arrow has been a card that has existed since the very first Duel Monsters game, only being joined by Winged Trumpeter in its then Japanese exclusive sequel, Duel Monsters 2 Dark Duel Stories, and then debuting in other countries in Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. This card literally serves zero purpose, basically serving as duplicate copies of Silver Bow and Arrow, a card literally no one was using until it basically became the best equipped card in Yu-Gi-Oh! The Falsbound Kingdom. A video on that game happening at some point, I promise. Originally, I was going to list almost every single anime exclusive card that has never been printed here, but the list ended up being quite large, and explaining everything that each one did was going to take up way too much time, and we've still got 4 other categories to get to after all. If you want that type of video, let me know in the comments below. I narrowed it down to 2 cards that I'm quite familiar with, since they also happen to exist in the Duel Monsters series of games as well, Back into Darkness and Cursebreaker. Back into Darkness was used by Arcana in his duel against Yugimoto in his weird-ass sex dungeon. It simply allows you to target any monster on the field and destroy it, and I'm assuming that Yu-Gi-Oh! In its infancy wasn't quite ready for a card this powerful, although that is with the context of knowing that Dark Hole in Raigeki existed since the physical TCG and OCG's literal first sets. It's, by all accounts, a better version of Fissure, Hammershot, Soul Taker, and Smashing Ground, since it doesn't require the target monster to have any specific stat line, making it far more versatile in its applications. Cursebreaker is a little harder to explain, since it functions separately depending on the medium it's in. The overarching idea behind its effect is that it mass negates any spell effects currently affecting the field, which makes it very different from the card that you're probably thinking that this actually is, Dispel. Yes, I know these cards look almost identical, but I'd like to remind you that making alternate alternate color variants of the same card artwork was par for the course in Yu-Gi-Oh's infancy. I'm assuming full mass negation of any spell effect was also pretty hard to justify when back row destruction and negation effects were far and few between. It's not out of the realm of possibility for these cards to eventually see some Yugi boomer bait nostalgia set print, since anti-magic arrows was once a card thought unlikely to ever see the light of day, yet here I stand with one in my hands right now. Imagine these in collector's rare. See, now that's something that could really get the juices flowing. Okay, now I know I just said that I didn't want to list a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh card names and then explain what they all do individually, but normal monsters are literally the easiest genre of card to get the gist of. They are little guys with stats and you summon them, and sometimes they become your favorite card ever. There are genuinely so many dudes that Konami has refused to port into the TCG from the OCG, let alone to the OCG from the video games and manga. Here are just a couple of them, along with their goofy as hell flavor text. Gate Sword, a dark warrior that has assumed the guise of a caped sword. It cleaves everything it touches in half. Space Megatron, a robot that is constructed primarily with sets of semicircles. It attacks with lasers mounted at its sides and the center. Steel Fan Fighter, a warrior who uses a steel fan that is etched with a dragon. He battles as if he were dancing. Leopard Girl, a beast warrior that breathes on the neck of its foe. The startled foe is then shredded by this quick being. Mutant Crab took on this form after repeated genetic manipulations. Uashi loves to step on and crush enemies. Me too, little buddy. Insect Larva, an infant that hatched from an egg laid by the insect queen. Slime. When touched and damaged, this slime ball is apparently able to split to multiply itself. Ogre Head Zombie. It has great power, but the heaviness of its head is breaking its rotten bones. The great power is 450 attack, by the way. Burning Phoenix. Flames emanate from its body. Its flames cannot be extinguished. Emperor of Flames. It is said that he acquired the power of fire and unified his country. Holy shit, this guy's more powerful than Ogre Head Zombie. No wonder he was able to unify his country. Owl Hermit of the Black Forest. Yes, that Black Forest. There is no place in the area of the woods that is unknown to the Elder of the Forest. Southern Ocean Diabolos, a legendary sea dragon that lives in the ocean. It is said to be the cause of tsunamis. Rough Missile Launcher. When it gets angry, it shoots missiles recklessly and endlessly. Holy shit, this thing is alive? Bro could unify his country with an attack stat like that. Dragon Pirate Soldier. A stray dragon soldier fighting as a member of a pirate crew. Captain Leo, the captain of a pirate ship. He is familiar with the ferocity of the sea. Vector, without making any sound, it creeps and leaps to the neck of its prey. Spirit of the Gems Hassan, a djinn who protects hidden treasures by shooting a beam from its gem. They really did just put random stats on these things, didn't they? Legend Nymph, an illusory winged dolphin that dwells in the heavens, swimming in the seas of clouds. Boomerang Boy uses a self-made boomerang and makes a living from the hunt. Beauty Lip. If you see a beautiful mouth in the darkness, it might be Beauty Lip. I hope every mouth that I see in the darkness is Beauty Lip, to be perfectly honest with you. Mechanical Ninja Raiko, a mechanical ninja powered by electric energy with an impressive lightning attack. But does it pop a card on the field and then mill 3? Lightning Wallaby, a wallaby equipped with legendary lightning punch technique, whose power is great. Thanks for letting me know. Iron Face. His face is covered with an iron mask, and if it is taken off, he loses his fighting spirit. Umbrella Chimera. When it was sleeping, an umbrella somehow got attached and has never went away. It's literally just a chimera creature with an umbrella glued on. Come on now. Red Mane Blutches. With the weapons it wields in both hands, it feels pleasure in ripping its opponent apart. Long Nose Mammoth. A mammoth with a blue body. It attacks and hits by swinging its long nose. Angler Fatfish. Moves faster than would be imagined for its fat body. Fat phobia in 2025? For shame. And Rootwood. A dragon whose body is made of wood. Its body burns when it breathes fire. Should probably not breathe fire then. Now, if you thought that that was a pretty good dent in the pile of unreleased normal dudes that would have next to no impact on the game today if they were ever released in print, you haven't heard of Yu-Gi-Oh! Dark Duel Stories' card construction mechanic. The way this thing works is, for every duel that you win, in addition to a card drop that you receive from that duelist-specific card drop pool, you can get a randomly assigned construction card part. This can be doubled if you have activated the secret Solomon Moto password, which grants an additional card drop and construction card part. I am speaking in hieroglyphics at this point. In order to craft a playable card using your construction card parts, you need one top part and one bottom part belonging to the same group, those being Group 1 and Group 2. Each group of card parts consists of 140 total parts, 70 top parts and 70 lower parts, meaning that there are 280 parts total. Math whizzes watching this video will be able to ascertain that this means that there are 9,800 different possible construction card variations. Konami relatively recently celebrated the release of the 10,000th individual card being printed with the release of 10,000 Dragon in the year 2020, but they could have pumped this bad boy out over 20 years prior if they just printed every single absolutely batshit insane looking construction card. And if you're thinking, I wouldn't even bother printing a single one of these, then I've got bad news for you. Konami actually has released 5 of these 9,800 cards over the years, those being Spherus Lady, Cornfield Coatl, Soul-Eister Crystal, Lightlaw Medium, and Mirror Sword Knight. Additionally, they attempted to normalize the presence of a few more of these constructed cards in Dark Duel Stories' sequel, Duel Monsters 4, Battle of Great Duelists, Yugi deck, Joey deck, and Kaiba deck. We even literally mentioned them just a minute ago. Rootwood, Redmane Blutches, Angler Fatfish, and Longnose Mammoth were all included as playable non-construction cards. An absolutely bizarre rabbit hole of Yu-Gi-Oh's history, but I just find it so fascinating, man. Yu-Gi-Oh has always been more about ideas over execution, and they had a lot of ideas. That's enough yapping about cards that haven't been printed, though. Let's move on to Shapeshifters. Shapeshifters are cards that adopt the names of other cards while they are in the deck, on the field, and in the graveyard, essentially making whatever name that is printed at the top of the card completely moot. This isn't a community term, by the way, it's just what I call them. Don't expect other people to talk about shapeshifter cards. Let's take a look at the card, a Legendary Ocean. This was a pretty popular card back in the day, especially since it was featured in the very powerful Fury from the Deep structure deck at 3 copies. Part of this card's text reads, "This card is always treated as Umi," meaning that, for all intents and purposes, this card is Umi, just with a slightly more beneficial effect. In application, this means that there is not a single card in the game actually named a Legendary Ocean, despite the fact that you and I can literally read this card out loud and, you know, see it with our eyes. A card like Prohibition, which lets you declare a card name and prevent that card from being used, does not work on a Legendary Ocean, because it is Umi. You would have to call Umi when declaring the card name with Prohibition's effects in order to prevent this card from being played or being able to use its effects. This freaking absurd stipulation to shapeshifters is further exacerbated by the existence of the monster Warrior of Atlantis, who has an effect that lets you discard it from your hand in order to add a copy of a Legendary Ocean to your hand. A card that literally does not exist as far as Duel Monsters is concerned. And I know the question you've already got in your mind. Can you actually use Warrior of Atlantis' effect to add a copy of a Legendary Ocean to your hand? Unfortunately, yes. Why? Because Konami said so. Good talk. This naming convention goes beyond simple semantics, by the way. Shapeshifters directly interact with the very deck-building rules of Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's take a look at the cards Cyber Harpy Lady, Harpy Lady 1, Harpy Lady 2, and Harpy Lady 3. Cyber Harpy Lady is basically your standard Harpy Lady, but with the Cyber Shield equip card already part of her kit, and Harpy Ladies 1, 2, and 3 are the Harpy Lady sisters in their solo form. forms. When building your deck, it's common knowledge that you are allowed to run 3 copies of every card as long as they are not limited, semi-limited, or banned outright. The odd thing about shapeshifters is that because they are treated as one specific card, you are unable to run each individual name changer at 3 copies without making a cut here and there. In other words, you can only run one of each of the numbered Harpy Ladies and would be unable to run Cyber Harpy Lady since you're already at 3 copies of Harpy Lady, a name that they all share. This is the same with the card Fusion Substitute, which acts as polymerization with a couple of effect differences that make it more detrimental in application, but more beneficial in the grind and recursion game. If you would like to run both cards in your deck, you cannot have either one at 3 copies, instead having one at 2 copies and only a singular copy of the other since they share the same name. And this doesn't pertain simply to cards in the main deck. There are 2 cards called Neospatian Aquadolphin and Neospatian Glomos, 2 cards belonging to the completely dogshit Neospatian archetype of cards. There is also a card called Nex, which allows you to send one face-up Neospatian monster that you control to the graveyard in order to special summon one level 4 monster with the same name from the extra deck. This lets you transmute Neospatian Aquadolphin and Neospatian Glomos into Neospatian Marine Dolphin and Neospatian Twinklemoss, respectively. 2 cards whose names are simultaneously treated as their main deck counterparts. This will still have the restriction of requiring you to choose 1 card to run at 2 copies and 1 card to run at 1 copy. However, unlike the Harpy Lady cards, Fusion Substitute, and a Legendary Ocean, these cards have the stipulation of also being treated as their counterparts, not always, meaning that they do exist and can be named properly when using Prohibition. 4 cards that don't exist here are the evolved version of the other Neospatian cards: Flare Scarab, Dark Panther, Air Hummingbird, and Grand Mole. The GX anime only ever featured the evolved versions of Glomos and Aquadolphin, and given the colossally bad reception that the Neospatian archetype received, Konami only ever saw fit to release Marine Dolphin and Twinklemoss. So Nex stands as a card that implies the existence of 6 possible evolutions, only to, in practice, facilitate 2. Grand Mole deserved better, man. Speaking of Neospatians, let's quickly pop into the lawsuits category, since it literally only has 1 entry. Elemental Hero Neos is a special type of hero monster, simultaneously acting as the Dark Magician of the GX series and as a bridge between the Elemental Hero and Neospatian archetypes. The idea behind this monster is that they are able to contact fuse with the 6 Neospatian monsters of anime fame and create a toolbox of different Neos fusion monsters for any situation. Or at least that was the idea. The created fusion monsters are Flare Neos, who uses Flare Scarab, Grand Neos, who uses Grand Mole, Dark Neos, who uses Dark Panther, Glow Neos, who uses Glomos, Aqua Neos, who uses Aqua Dolphin, and then Air Neos, who uses Air Hummingbird. All was well and good in the world for a while, until fans happened to notice a bunch of signs pointing to something being up with Elemental Hero Air Neos. It was the only Neos fusion monster that hadn't received a reprint, didn't show up in Duel Links or Master Duel, and when Japan started releasing their new Rush Duel cards, they revealed a completely new version of Air Neos, now named Sky Neos. The card Instant Contact, which was literally just an anime reference card where every base Neos variant is present, was noticeably missing our Hummingbird buddy in the artwork. So what gives? Well, in the year 2008, a lawsuit was filed by Beyond Comics, suing Konami on the grounds of copyright infringement. They alleged that Elemental Hero Air Neos' design was a blatant ripoff of the character Rave Dactyl, and by placing the characters side by side, it's not hard to see why they thought that. To this day, the copyright holder behind Rave Dactyl has expressed that they do not wish for Konami to never use Air Neos again, but given that legal trouble is something that most companies try to stay out of, it's likely we'll never see this card printed ever again. Next up, we've got One of a Kind. Every now and then, Konami will create extremely unique cards that are then gifted to a singular individual, never to be released to the masses. While these cards do technically exist, neither you nor I will ever hold them in our hands within our brief lifetimes, nor will they ever see paper play given their absurd monetary value. Sometime in the year 2001, Konami held Yu-Gi-Oh's second national tournament. The top 3 players in the competition were granted prize cards of existing monsters with their likenesses added onto them. The tournament victor Masahiro was granted Masahiro the Dark Clown. Second place Yasushi was given Yasushi the Skull Knight. And third place Tamahiro was granted Tamahiro the Mountain Warrior. Each of these cards function wildly different from their in-print counterparts, and were also given taglines as either a quote from the Duelist themselves or advice from the creators of the cards. I'm not actually entirely sure. Kevin Tuert, Konami's current head of development for the US trading card game, has mentioned previously that the existence of these cards is a fabrication. Though given that Yu-Gi-Oh's second national tournament was an OCG event, or rather was held in Japan using the Japanese version of the game, and that these 3 cards were listed on the Asian restricted card list for the 2010 World Championship Series, leads many, including me, to believe otherwise. These cards have never appeared for sale on any auction market, so they have either been sealed away in storage somewhere or have been lost to time. We may never know. Actually, as I was writing the script for this video, Masahiro the Dark Clown showed up for sale with the asking price of 100,000 euros, or around 115,000 US dollars. I can't find the post that Farfa mentioned on their Twitter, but the pictures posted alongside the PSA grading make this seem very legit. Wow. Just wow, that is a beautiful card. A card that we do know for certain that exists is Tyler the Great Warrior. This card was created as part of a Make-A-Wish fulfillment for the then 14-year-old Tyler Gressel, who was currently battling a rare form of liver cancer known as undifferentiated embryonal sarcoma. While a difficult version of liver cancer to treat, Tyler's doctor had some experience with the disease and managed to successfully treat him, leaving him with one of the rarest pieces of Yu-Gi-Oh's history in his grip. It was sold at auction for an astounding $311,211 by Tyler himself just a few years ago in 2023, in order to fund various life expenses, including travel plans and starting a family of his own. The card's design was heavily inspired by Trunks from Dragon Ball Z and was hand-drawn by the legend Kazuki Takahashi himself. One of the funny things about this card is that it is 100% playable, though I don't know why you would want to given its incredible monetary value and absurd rarity. Imagine getting dealt the final blow in a duel by someone that literally got their own custom card made. Not that he didn't deserve it. Tyler Gressel is very much a great warrior, given the battle with cancer that they won. May we all be as strong as Tyler and those like him have been in our own battles. If you thought that the ritual monster section at the beginning of this video was bizarre, that being normal monsters being turned into ritual monsters in the Duel Monsters games, let me tell you about the absolute complete opposite. On February 1st, 1999, I was 4 years old at the time, by the way, the very first Duel Monsters tournament was held in the Ginza district of Chuo, Tokyo. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. This tournament ran until February 21st and was a 2-part tournament, with the first half being played in paper and the other half being played on the Duel Monsters game Duel Monsters 2 Dark Duel Stories. There were 4 prize cards given out to 1st through 4th place, and they are all exceedingly unique even by today's standards. They were all ritual monsters printed as standard vanilla normal monsters, but with a catch. They were all printed on stainless steel, meaning that they would never never lose their mint conditioning as long as you didn't, like, throw them into a volcano or anything. These cards were Fiend's Mirror for 4th place, Super War Lion for 3rd, Terra the Mant for 2nd place, and Blackluster Soldier for the player that took home the gold medal. It's actually worth mentioning that Konami recently had a very unique product release, which was the 3 Egyptian god cards using their manga artwork, all 3 being printed on stainless steel. And what did they add on as a promo card for such a thing? A normal monster variant of the Blackluster Soldier, though not printed on stainless steel this time. They never forgot their baby boy. Aww. Only 1 copy of all these prize cards exists today, in the hands of the winners of the first Duel Monsters tournament that took place almost 30 years ago. Only the Blackluster Soldier has ever popped up on the market to my knowledge, initially being priced at a whopping $10 million, and then being sold for a still beyond absurd $2 million. Whoever holds these cards not only wields their impressive market value, but a vital part of Yu-Gi-Oh's history alongside them. Man, that kind of money would have you set for life. Wish I was born in Lucid during the time these tournaments took place. I could have had it made. Now I'm just making YouTube content. Okay, let's finish off strong with the final category, officially illegal. Cards that fall under this category have been printed and distributed by Konami themselves, yet will never see play due to the fact that they have already been deemed illegal to use in any capacity. You probably already have cards like this in your possession if you happen to have purchased the Legendary Collection 25th Anniversary Edition that came out not too long ago. All 3 of the Egyptian god cards held inside as promos come with the text, "This card cannot be used in a duel," meaning that, outside of exceedingly casual play, these are not allowed to be used in a competitive setting. There are completely playable versions of each of the god cards, which have effects based off of how they functioned in the manga and anime, though exceedingly toned down so as not to make them absurdly broken. Another anime and manga card released to the masses is Card of Last Will in Legendary Collection 4, Joey's World. This is a trap card used by Merrick Ishtar in their duels against My Valentine, Yami Bakura, and Joey Wheeler. And as a main antagonist crutch card, it's pretty absurd. Drawing 5 cards for the low cost of having a monster on your side of the field, having its attack reduced to 0, or in the anime, changed by any amount, is pretty broken. I don't really know why they even released this card though, since there wasn't exactly a lot of hype surrounding it compared to the Egyptian god cards. Now, obviously most of you will know of the god cards, and maybe even some of you knew about Card of Last Will, but I'll bet only a handful of you will know about the long list of match winner prize cards. These cards, as the name implies, are rewards to duelists that manage to win or place highly in tournaments at various Yu-Gi-Oh events. What makes these cards extra unique is that they are often designed around the local area in which the tournament is located, including references to the states or countries where the competition has set up shop. They are also very rare, not one of a kind, since 1st through 4th place are often given ultra rare copies of them, and then every entrant is then given super rare replica copies, but they still go for a fair bit on the card market due to their exclusivity. They are called match winners due to their similar effects, all sharing the same idea of using 3 monsters to summon them, and then if they happen to reduce the opponent's life points to 0 via a direct attack, the card's controller wins the match. Not duel, by the way, match. That's 2 duels for the price of 1 duel. The only match winner card to not have the text, "This card cannot be used in a duel," is Victory Dragon, which remains on the Forbidden and Limited list at 0 copies due to its effect seeming far too swingy in competitive events. There have been quite a few match winner prize cards given out, and they are as follows. Agiba, the Malevolent Shinshio, Amatsu Okami of the Divine Peaks, Armament of the Lethal Lords, Chimera, the Master of Beasts, Emperor of Lightning, E-Hero Pit Boss, Gate Brigio, the Waterfront War Beast, Grandopolis, the Eternal Golden City, Grizzly, the Red Star Beast, Iron Knight of Revolution, Juno, the Celestial Goddess, Kaiser Eagle, the Heaven's Mandate, King Landia, the Goldfang, King of Destruction Zexex, Kuzunoha, the Onmyojin, Legendary Dragon of White, Legendary Magician Magician of Dark, Leonardo's Silver Skyship, Lorelei the Symphonic Arsenal, Masterful Magician, Servant of the Sanctuary, Mateo the Matchless, Noritoshi the Darkest Raiment, Queen Nerea the Silver Crown, Queen of Fate, Eternia, Takio, Swordmaster of the Far East, Sanctity of Dragon, Shelga the Tri-Warlord, Guna the Leonin Rakan, Skyfaring Castle of the Black Forest, yes, that Black Forest, Stardust Divinity, Testament of the Arcane Lords, the Twin Kings, Founders of the Empire, and Tyr the Vanquishing Warlord. The last thing that I'll mention before we wrap up here is the existence of giant cards. These are frequently given out as prizing at Yu-Gi-Oh events, and although most of them are one-to-one recreations of playable cards, they cannot be used in a duel because that would be the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in my entire life. The more you know, right? And that's pretty much everything that I can talk about right now. If you got to the end of this video, then please subscribe to the channel. You clearly think I'm the best thing ever, so why not do so already, eh? I've also got a community Discord where you can talk about what you're interested in or provide feedback on the channel and myself. Like the video to get this bad boy boosted into that algorithm, and consider supporting me on Patreon or by becoming a channel member to help me get this channel to full-time status. I'll chat with you guys next time I see you. Have a swell day, and I love you so much. Bye!